Hello everybody, my name is Carlos Osegueda from CBA Barbell. I'm here with CJ Haase. He's one of the members here at CBA Barbell. Some of you guys may have seen his 660 pound deadlift from last night from his training. It was a milestone for CJ, very significant, and I want to give some background why it was significant for him and what he's gone through in the last couple of years. So CJ, tell us a little bit something about yourself, where you were at about 2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago, let me think. I was like getting into the best shape of my life. I was racing the ATV MX National Tour, and I was training to be the 2015 national champion. And I was training with this guy who's been racing ATVs for 40 years, and he taught me a lot of good stuff. He got me in like the best shape of my life, out of like, not like weightlifting wise, but like of the other kind.
Right.
And then when we were training at this one track, I hit this weird bump on the track, and it kicked me off the four-wheeler, and the four-wheeler rolled over me, like the 500-pound four-wheeler rolled over, and I broke my back.
Right. And at that point, right before that, you started training here, and I think you were getting, in combination with what you were doing with the other guy, you were actually starting to get faster. You were breaking some of the pros, I think you were telling me.
Yeah, I was faster than some.
You were beating some of the pros. In what age group were you a national champion in at that time?
I guess I was like 16 or 17.
It's pretty competitive.
It's really competitive. The American ATV MX National, those are the fastest ATV racers in the world.
Right. And you were ranked pretty high. What was your ranking, number one?
I won the national championship.
That was great. So around that time, when you broke your back, when it first happened, what were you thinking when the accident first happened?
Well, actually, when it first happened, I thought I was perfectly fine because I've been ran over by tons of things before, been hit by tons of heavy things before, and then right as I was laying on the ground, the first thing you did was stand up.
Right, so you got up.
I always try to get back onto the four-wheeler right after I crash.
So you got up, and so once you got up, how did you know you were injured?
I didn't. I thought I was fine, but my dad told me he was like, CJ, I think we should take you to the hospital. He said there's like something looked like it was sticking out of my back.
So you weren't taken away by the ambulance?
No, my dad drove me in his NV 3500 van. And I was fine because I had the adrenaline pumping.
Right.
But when we got like halfway to the hospital, all that wore off, and I was in like the worst pain of my life.
Oh, I bet it was. So once you got to the hospital and they told you your back was sore, what was your reaction?
I was like,
were you in shock?
I wasn't like, I was in shock because I didn't think, I've never really ever thought I was going to break my back before.
Right.
And I was like, I can't believe this has actually happened. I broke my back off of a tiny little incident like that because I normally hit bumps like that all the time.
Right.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, I can imagine. So once you broke your back, how long was the rehab for that until you were able to kind of get better?
Oh, for breaking my back, rehab, they made me go through physical therapy. They had to.
Didn't they put you on a board for a little while?
They put me on a brace.
Right.
And I had to wear that all the time, and that was a pain in the ass.
For how long did you have to wear that brace?
It was a long time. It was like a couple months.
Right. Now, once you were finished with that rehab, did you have plans to going back into riding ATVs competitively, or you were calling it quits at that point after that?
Oh, I had plans to go back.
You had plans to go back?
Yeah.
Okay, so how long did it take you to get back until you started riding again after the injury?
Oh, let me think. Not too long. It's about like halfway through the racing season of 2015.
Right.
And I was like back, and I think I was like stronger in some muscles that I wasn't before.
Right.
And I was really ready to go race.
Right.
And then I think it was like summertime. It was somewhere in summertime. And then I went and I stayed the night at my friend Billy's house. And I stayed up till 5 o'clock in the morning, which I would not recommend doing that if you have to drive home the next day early in the morning. And I had to drive home early to say goodbye to my cousin.
Mhm.
And I guess I was really tired or something. And I think when I got to the road I lived on, because you know how they say accidents happen closer to home, there was this woman who was stopped on the road.
All right, so now we're starting to skip forward a bit to the next thing. So slow down a little bit. So after the back injury, you already had planned to go back into. See, that wasn't going to stop you. You were going to continue after the recovery,
Yeah.
right? So shortly after that, you had another obstacle. You had a car accident that happened to you. How far away was that car accident from the time you broke your back?
Let me think.
Was it 6 months, 8 months later after you broke your back?
Yeah, it wasn't. They were like scared. It was so close. They were scared that I would have broke my back again.
Right, so 6 months maybe from the time you were in the.
I think it was more like
A little longer?
like about a year.
A year.
It's like around.
Okay,
a
so
year.
let's fast forward to that. So you got to that point where continue the story about the car accident. So now we're going to another obstacle.
Okay,
A year after you broke your back.
Yeah, so when I got to the road that I lived on, driving home from my friend Billy's house, I was driving around this like one curve, and it's like it's right next to his house that has a big open field, and on the other side is like a forest, like a ton of trees.
Right.
And I think this one woman was stopped in the middle of the road changing the CD for her daughter, and I'd never ever try to hit other cars, and I think I probably dropped off the road, and I think I overcorrected when I went back on. Because of all things to crash into, I crashed into the tree side, not the open field side. And that's when I got a traumatic brain injury.
And that's in the car accident. I remember didn't you have a Nissan 300 at the time?
I had a 350Z.
350. So that's what you used to drive, I remember. And that day you happened to be driving your mother's car.
Yes, my mother's GM's.
Right, and I talked to your mom for a little bit, and she said that's probably one of the things that kind of saved your life, the fact that you weren't driving a smaller car.
Probably.
You were driving the bigger car. And I'll grab from your Facebook page, there's a few pictures of the car accident, what the car looked like.
Oh, the car got messed up.
So I'll kind of post them up maybe to this video a little bit later. Okay, so after the accident, okay, were you, from that point on, after the accident, were you conscious at that point, or you were in that coma, or they induced you into the coma after the accident?
I guess I got knocked out because I don't remember anything.
You remember anything after that?
I remember staying the night at my friend Billy's house,
And that's all you
but
remember?
barely.
Okay, so once, because I know, just following some of the stuff that your sister had put on Facebook, she had put that you actually put you in a medically induced coma because you had so much swelling in your brain. How long were you in that coma, in the medically induced coma?
I was in the coma for a whole month.
A whole month?
A whole month.
So once you got out of the coma, and I guess at that point you were more conscious and you kind of what was going on, what kind of was your reaction once you woke up and you realized you'd been in that car accident?
All I really wanted to do was just hang out with my friends again.
Right.
But I realized there was something wrong with me,
Right.
and I was in the hospital for some reason. So I tried my best to pass every single test they wanted to
Right.
put me through, every stage of the recovery they wanted to put me through, and that was like one of the most boring things I've ever done. But I had to learn to do everything. I had to learn how to breathe on my own. That's why I have that.
The scar right here.
Yeah, the scar right there is my breathing tube, and I have one on my stomach. That's a feeding tube.
Right.
And I had to learn how to breathe again, eat again, and I had to learn how to walk again. I was in a wheelchair for like a month.
I saw that. Now, what was the hardest of those to do? Learn to breathe, learn to read. Did you have to learn how to talk again too when you were?
Yeah,
You had to go
learn how
through?
talk. Yeah, I mean, talking came back really quickly.
Right.
I think the hardest thing, I guess, was walking, because my mom, used to keep telling me to stand up from my wheelchair, and it was really hard at first. But after that, I would stand up, and then they'd tell me to walk towards them, and I would just stand there because I guess my body wasn't really cooperating.
You were trying to move, but your legs weren't doing it.
I was moving in my mind, but not with my body.
So you said walking was the hardest to relearn? What was the last thing to come back?
Last thing, probably memory. I'm still working on it.
Right. There's some pictures of you again on Facebook of you kind of going through the walking stages. I think with people holding you up and walking through.
Yeah,
And,
I'm glad there's people holding me up because that would have made a big
crash.
crash.
You don't even look at the same person. You also lost a whole lot of weight.
When I was like 200, 230.
I think you were 230 pounds right
for my accident.
Right,
and then I got into the accident, and then I dropped down to 195.
Yeah, that's
and after that, I gained all my weight back quickly. I got to 230 much quicker than I thought I would.
Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You're kind of, you've lost so much weight and you've been in a really terrible car accident. Who were some of the people that kind of stood by you to kind of help you get through that? Because I know that had to be tough for you to.
There were tons of people. I got sent down to a hospital in Georgia called the Shepherd Center.
Mm-hmm.
They specialize in dealing with patients with brain injuries.
Right.
And when I was down there, my sister came down, and like she's missed school. She came down. My mom was down there with me the whole time. The only person that wasn't down there was my dad because he actually had to work, and we had to pay the bills for the house. Right. And on Christmas or somewhere around there when I was down in the hospital like a whole year ago, I woke up and we had a free apartment to stay in.
Right.
And I got up and I walked out of my bedroom and I saw my best friend Blake, and I was like, there's no way that my best friend Blake is here. Maybe it was near my birthday. I'm having a hard time thinking. Right. But on my birthday, all my friends traveled all the way down to Georgia, and we had a birthday at the Shepherd Center Hospital.
So what do you think kept you going? Because, most people, your situation, even people that are, faced with challenges, they're not even equal to what you went through. What kept you going? What kept you not quitting? Because you could have just said, screw this, I don't give a shit, I really don't want to care if I walk again or whatever, you know what I mean? What kept you going?
Well, I have amazing dreams in my head. I want to be rich. I want to own awesome cars. Want to have tons of friends. You can't do that if you're just like you can't walk, can't even talk. So I just keep striving every day to get better and better, and I always work my hardest at that. And now that I'm back to school, I'm smarter than some of the kids I go to school with, and I'm like, how are you guys not comprehending this? I can comprehend this, and I hit my head much harder than you ever had.
Right. Well, maybe Gail give them a little motivation.
Hopefully.
They say they got, they'll wake up and say the guy was in a coma for a month, can't understand it, and we can't. And we got to do something.
Yeah.
But, I hope that inspires, some young kids, because you definitely have, the will to kind of get where you want to get. And as far as in here, as far as, training in before the accident, you always put in the work. So hopefully this will kind of.
Well, this is one of my favorite places.
Favorite places in the world.
Yeah.
That's where you get the gains.
Yeah, that's where you get the gains.
But, and that's, well, at this point, what would you, because I think it's a great story. And just putting up the Instagram video, I don't think a lot of people realize where you've been, the things you've gone through and why that was such a big deal. I think our max way back was 335, kind of around the time before you got hurt. So it only puts you about 75 pounds away from your best, which I believe will probably do more than that. Probably less sitting in probably the next 6-8 months we'll probably do a lot more. But I think you inspire a lot of people that train here. I think, and hopefully you inspire a lot of kids in your age bracket. A lot of kids these days are easy to give up and they just kind of want things handed to them.
That's like when I go to school, everyone's just like, why do we have to be here? And I'm like, it's free education. How can you complain about free education?
Yeah, there's a lot of that, and I see a lot of my weight training class, they'll excuses, and we get guys in here that a lot of times they don't last very long because it's too hard for them. They don't
because
want to do the work.
they deadlift with just their back.
No, they don't want to do the work. They don't want to do it right. So when you tell them you got to correct or do this and the other, they don't really have the will to kind of stick around and do things right.
You got to put in the work if you really want to be stronger.
Right, and that just not only goes in as far as lifting weights, but also in life. And you're a testament to that. What would you say to anybody that is, in a similar situation, not necessarily had an accident like yours, but someone that doesn't have, you know what I mean, the drive, or in a situation where they want to give up, what would you say to somebody like that? Because you've definitely been through it, and you know, what you could have easily gave up and not push yourself to get where you're at right now. Because if you would look at where you're at after the car accident, and then I talked to your mother, I think you probably, what your mother said to me was like, you made progress faster than anybody that they'd ever seen, I think, in the hospital. I think that's what she said to me. So they were really amazed at the progress that you made. So that really, I think that comes from inside of you. It's not something that you kind of, you know, just decide to do. You probably have that in you. You probably have it all your life. What would you say to somebody that kind of needs a little inspiration to, it might be in a position, you know, where they feel that just there's no way out, or, you know, they want to give up. What would you say to someone?
Well, there's
like
a
that?
reason why I did so well. It's because when I was in the hospital, and before everyone was treating me just like I was when I was in my bad stages where I couldn't walk, talk, eat, do any of that, I was like, I can do all this stuff. You guys just gotta let me do it myself, like leading me. So I did it. I followed the program, excelled really well, and then
So you had the belief that no matter what,
I had the belief that
you were going to get back to where you were at before.
I don't like to let things slow me down in
Right.
life. I always just keep shooting for my goals. And if I had to talk to someone who was in a similar situation that I was in, I would say, I think, like, I'd find out what they want in life, and like if they wanted to become something amazing like I want to become.
Right.
You can't do it in the way that you are now. You gotta really strive to get better. I know, like, it's boring listening to all this hospital stuff. You gotta do this and then this, and I had a gait belt thing,
Right.
where one of my parents had to walk with me and hold on to the belt, so
Right.
in case I fell, they could hold on to me.
So you had to kind of go through the process to succeed.
Yes.
Just like it is in life, you can't skip steps. You know, you want to be here, and you're here. And, you know, you can't go from here to this.
You
step
gotta
here.
learn how to run up the steps fast.
Exactly. So you got to be able to go through the process to get where you want to get, and that's, you know, basically what you got to do in life.
And
First
I know,
steps.
it's not the plans at all. I was supposed to be in college, hanging out with my friends. I had tons of friends. I had awesome plans.
Life came and kicked you in the balls. Didn't it?
And yeah, life was like, that's a nice broken back you got there. It kind of sucked if you ran into a tree.
Wanted to slow you down a little bit, but I guess the moral of the story, you didn't let it slow you down. I mean, it stopped you, slowed you down for a little bit, but you definitely kept going.
Yeah, that's
Definitely.
why I went back to school. Finish my high school education, because when I was in my recovery, I missed a whole year of school,
Right.
and you can't graduate high school with 3 years of school.
So you'll be done this year, right?
I'll be done at the end of this year. Well, actually, it'll be next year, in 2017. I'll graduate, and then I'm going to go to college.
Right.
I'm going to get a college degree.
That's great, man. Well, looking forward to your graduation.
Me too.
All right, CJ, I think we got everything. I want to thank CJ for his time. I want to thank the cameraman, and I want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you around next time.